Well, well, I have something like I am facing some grammatic problem during the conversation related to should have, would have, could have, might have. So if you just give me a clarification, little bit example, if you don't mind.
Yes, okay. So these words, honestly, they are difficult for
Mhm.
me as a student. When I was a student, I remember that these were the most difficult ones for me.
Yeah,
Yes. And so, because they are called modal verbs. So
model verb.
yeah, when it's a modal verb, so it's not just basically like, oh, this is present, that is past, and the other thing is future. No, it involves the mood. What does it mean? Like how you're feeling
Mhm.
about the thing. That's why the name is modal verb, because it's
Mhm.
related to the mood.
Yeah,
So, for example, if you use may, it means that you believe that it's gonna happen. If you use might, so you rely less on this than when you use may. When you use should, it's like a recommendation. When you use have to, for example, it's an obligation, but it's an external obligation. When you use must, it's a stronger obligation than have to, and it generally involves your personal idea when you say I must do something. So it's not just because something said that you need to do it, but because you want to do it and you feel like a strong responsibility to do. So you've asked me about should have, would have, and might have, right?
and could have as well. Could have as well.
Okay, so let me think about an example.
Yeah.
Like, if I tell one of my students, imagine one of my students is not doing very well, and I say, oh, I think you should have some classes, some more
Mhm.
classes.
Yeah.
So it's a recommendation. If
Mhm.
I say, if I were you, I would have some more classes. So I think you should have, or if I were you, I would have some more classes. And might, like, you might have some classes, but what's the difference? Should, it involves my recommendation. When I say you might have, not necessarily it is involved with my own recommendation. It's like,
Mhm.
I think you should, but you might, like, it's good for you. It would be good for you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? Yes, I'm sorry
Well,
because it's not that simple to explain modal verbs as it is to explain grammar tenses, present, past, and future, because they involve how you're feeling and what mood you would like to express when
yes.
you're
Yes.
speaking.
Mhm. Well, uh, well, I'm trying to understand, but it's a little bit complicated.
Would you like
Well,
to try to give me examples and I can guide you over them, like through them?
you should have learned Hindi. You should have learned Hindi. Or I should.
Okay.
Okay. You should have learned Hindi to better communication, kind of better, a language barrier between you and me. Or sometimes we don't understand the stuff. Like I'm trying, I really wanted to explain you. Okay. But it happens sometimes that we don't have the appropriate word to express exactly what we are trying to say. You know, it happened right now that you really wanted to explain me, but because of lack of words, I really don't can't understand. So in order to understand the both of you must have learned Hindi. That's correct answer or what? Learn Hindi, or you should have learned Hindi.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah,
think?
it's right.
What?
And would have like, and if you would like to give the same example using would have, you can say like, if you have had opportunity, if you had had opportunity, you would have learned Hindi. So it's different than saying, I think you should have learned. It's a recommendation. And when I use would, it's a conditional. It's just a supposition. It's not possible to happen. It's not a recommendation that you should do from now on. No, I'm relating something in the past with a supposition in the past. So if you had opportunity, you would have learned Hindi.
So in this sentence, we have a condition, like it happened earlier. So in order to, you should learn something. It's kind of a condition.
Yeah, exactly. It's a condition. And when you use would have and the third column of a verb, so this is called third conditional. So the first part, that is the condition, you should use past perfect. So had plus third column, and the result is would plus have plus the third column. Okay, so for example, if pandemic hadn't happened, I would have traveled more this year. Okay, if pandemic hadn't happened, I would have traveled more. It's not possible for me to go back into the past, change the past to have a different result. So that's why this is called third conditional, and this is a supposition. It cannot happen.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Can you please give me another one example of this sentence?
Yeah. With would have.
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me see. Well, if I hadn't had the goal to learn aviation vocabulary last year, I wouldn't have traveled to England. I would have traveled to another place, a place that I have never been before, instead of England. But I had the plan to study aviation English. And then England was the best place. But if I hadn't had this plan, I would have traveled to another country to get to know another place, another culture.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
I'm trying. I'm still trying. I'll give you an example. If the pandemic wouldn't happen, if the pandemic hadn't happened, I would have traveled. I would have planned, or I would have traveled to Brazil.
Okay.
Is that what correct answer?
Yeah, exactly. Totally correct.
Yes.
Good job. So, do you know that there are other kinds of conditionals, right?
Other kind of conditional.
Yeah, like you can relate present and present. You can relate present and future, past and would, past perfect and would plus present perfect. So this one that you've brought today for our talk, this is the last one. This is the third condition. But there are also three others, and they are called zero, first, and second. Zero is when you relate present and present, first, present and future, and second when you relate past and would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to get.
Yeah. Well, I think you've been doing okay, and I think it's really nice for you to be curious about this kind of stuff, because generally people, most of the people, they get to a level of English and then they don't care about learning more. And these questions that you've asked me today, they are like not simple questions. They are questions from a person who really would like to know more about English. So good questions, by the way.
Well, I want you to be master, English master. I'm trying.
Okay. So if you would like to be very good at English, these are the questions that you should be asking yourself, and you should be asking me, for example. And I'm glad for it.
Well, madam, I have lots of questions, but inshallah, I'll let you know in the next session. Well, difficult.
Yeah, you can ask me other questions if you would like to.
No, this is this portion only. I don't want people to get more and more confused. You know?
Oh yes.
Yeah. And one more thing, madam, that I've heard that I know that then we can use both in one sentence had, but I know, alhamdulillah, a little bit no, but can you please explain me again that have had and had.
Okay. How to use had correctly? Is this your question?
Yeah, have had and had both of two questions.
Okay. Let me see if I got it. Had. So
yeah.
I think that we've discussed a little bit last video about something related to it. Do you remember you've asked me about the differences among have been, have gone, went, go?
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
So it's like the chapter 2 of that video, because on that video I've explained you past simple, present perfect, and had is called past perfect. When do we use this? We use had. Had is the auxiliary verb, and we use the third column of the verb, any verb. So you can talk using have. So the third column of the verb have is had. So that's why you have had. But you can use other verbs as well, like had planned, had walked, had been, had gone. So this is the structure of past perfect when you use had and the third column. So the third column of the verb have is had. So that's why you can use had. When do you use past perfect? When you have two or more actions in the past, and one action is the most past. So imagine that you have one action that happened in 2010, another action that happened in 2015, and another in 2019. So the action that is the most past, so you should use had. So for example, I had one kind of car in 2010, and then I changed it and I bought another one in 2015. And in 2019, I decided again to change my car. So then I bought another one. So the action that is the most past, I use the past perfect, that is had. And all the other actions, I used bought, changed. So I used past simple, the second column. Did you understand? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well, it's quite complicated. It will take, you're not going to learn quickly. It will take time to understand the stuff,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of practice, trying to put this into practice. So next time that you are going to speak to someone and you're speaking about something in the past, try to use this. And then it's going to get more natural each time that you try to use it.
Thank you very much, dear Kareena. Thank you. God bless you.